Julius Nyerere story, the father of Tanzania. Julius Nyerere is the first president of Tanzania, a hero of independence of Tanzania. The best president of Tanzania is history and one of the heroes of Africa. In Tanzania, they called him Baba wa Taifa, the father of Tanzania. He is an unforgettable presence in Tanzania and in Africa. Listen his story to the end, you know more about him. Your life, education, political career, fighting against colonialism, presidency, achievement, Tanzania's president, death, legacy, private life. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. His born name is Julius Kambarage Nyerere, but he's popularly known as Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. He was born on 13 April 1922, and he was died on 14 October 1999 in London, in England. Your life, childhood. Julius Kambarage Nyerere was born in Mwitongo, an area of the village of Butiama in Tanganyika's Mara region. Nyerere was one of the 25 surviving children of the Nyerere Burito. His father, who was the chief of the Zanaki people, Burito, the father of Nyerere, had given the name of Nyerere, means caterpillar in Zanaki, after a plague of worm caterpillars infected the local area at the time of his birth. Burito was the chief of the Zanaki. He was appointed by the German imperial administrators of what then Germany, East Africa. Burito had 22 wives. The mother of Julius Nyerere was Mugaya Nyangombe, who was the fifth wife of Burito. Burito and Mugaya Nyangombe bore 4 sons and 4 daughters. Nyerere was the second child. 2 of his siblings were died in infancy. The Zanaki were one of the smallest of 120 tribes in the British colony Nyerere, and they were then subdivided among 8 chiefdoms. They would only be united under kingship of Chief Wanzagi Nyerere, Burito's half brother. In the 1960 years, Nyerere clan were Abaki Buhege. At the birth, Nyerere was given the personal name Mugendi, worked in Zanaki, but this was soon changed to Kambarage, the name of a family rain spirit at the advice of Omugabu Diviner. Nyerere was raised into a polytheistic belief system of the Zanaki where he assisted his mother in the farming of the mire, maize, and the cassava. He was also part in the herding of goats and cattle. As the son of a chief, he was exposed to African administrative power and authority that influenced his later political ideas. Education. The British colonial administration encouraged the education of chief's sons. At his father's prompting, Nyerere began his education at the Native Administration School in Mwisenge, Musoma in February 1934, about 35 kilometers from his home. This placed him in a privileged position because most of his contemporaries at Butiama could not afford a primary education. His education was in Swahili language. He had to learn there. Julius Nyerere excelled at the school. After 6 months, his exam results were such that he was allowed to skip a grade. He avoided sporting activities, and he preferred to read in his dormitory during free times. Nyerere also began to take an interest in Roman Catholicism. He abandoned the veneration of his people's traditional gods. He was used to travel 14 miles to the Nyegina Mission Center to learn more about the Christian religion. His elementary school schooling ended in 1936. His academic excellence allowed him to gain a governmental scholarship to attend the elite Tabora governmental school, a secondary school in Tabora, Tanganyika, actually known as Tanzania. Nyerere was characterized by being ambitious, competitive, and determined, eager to come top of the class in the examination. He used the books in the school library to advance his knowledge of the English language to a high standard. In keeping Zanaki custom, Nyerere entered to an arranged marriage with a girl named Magori Watiha, who was then only 3 or 4 years old, but had been selected for him by his father at the time they continued to live apart. In March 1942, during the Nyerere's final years at Tabora, his father died. The school refused to request to return home for the funeral. Nyerere decided to baptized as Roman Catholic. Makerere, Uganda, from 1943 to 1947. In October 1941, Nyerere completed his secondary school education and they decided to study at Makerere College in the Uganda city of Kampala. He secured a bursary to found a teacher training course. There he arrived in Uganda in January 1943. At Makerere, Nyerere studied alongside many of East Africa's most talented students. Nyerere spent his little time in socializing with others and reading. He took courses in chemistry, biology, Latin, and Greek. He also read many books of Catholic philosophers. In July 1943, Nyerere wrote a letter to Tanganyika Standard in which he discussed the ongoing Second World War and argued that capitalism was an alien to Africa and that the continent should turn to Africa socialism. This letter served to make the beginning of Nyerere political maturation. Nyerere, Andrew Timberlake, Hamza Kibwana Bakari Mwapachu founded the Tanganyika African Welfare Association, TAWA, to assist the small number of Tanganyika students at Makerere. TAWA was allowed to die off, and in its place, Nyerere revived the largely moribund Makerere chapter of the Tanganyika African Association, TAA, although these two had ceased functioning by 1947. In 1947, Nyerere graduated from the Makerere with a diploma in education. Early teaching from 1947 till 1949. On leaving Makerere, Nyerere returned home to Zanaki territory to build a house for his widowed mother before spending this time reading and farming in Butiama. He was offered a teaching position at both the state-run Tabora Boys and the mission-run St. Mary, but the latter, despite it offering a lower wage outside school hours, he gave his free lesson in English to other local and also gave talks in political issues. While in Tabora, the woman whom Nyerere was arranged to marry, Magori Watiha, was sent to live with him to pursue her primary education in Musoma. She was from the Sambiti tribe and she shared with Nyerere a devout Catholicism. They informally engaged at Christmas in 1948. In Tabora, Nyerere intensified his political activities. He joined the local branch of the TAA and he became a treasurer. In April 1946, Nyerere attended the organization's conference in Dar es Salaam, where the TAA officially declared itself committed to supporting independence for Tanganyika. Edinburgh University, England, from 1949 till 1952. In April 1949, Julius Nyerere went in Southampton in England. He traveled by train from London to Edinburgh, where he started his studies at the University of Edinburgh. He began with short courses in chemistry and physics, and he was also passed the High English in the Scottish University preliminary examination. In October 1949, Nyerere was accepted from NT to study for a master's degree at the University of Edinburgh Faculty of Arts, which was an ordinary degree of Master of Arts, which was considered undergraduate degree, the equivalent of a Bachelor's of Arts of most English universities. Nyerere was one of the only two black students from the British East Africa territories studying in Scotland. In the first year of the MA studies, Nyerere took courses in English literature, political economy, and social anthropology. In the second, he selected the course in economic history and the British history. In the third, he selected the constitutional law course. Julius Nyerere gained many friends in Edinburgh and socialized with Nigerian and West Indian living in the city. In July 1952, Julius Nyerere was graduated from the University of Edinburgh with an ordinary degree of the Master of Arts. Nyerere political activities, founding of the Tanganyika African National Union (TANU) from 1953 to 1955. On January 24, 1953, Nyerere married his fiancée Maria. They soon moved to Pugu, closer to Dar es Salaam. They got their first child in 1953. Nyerere became increasingly involved in politics in April 1953, where he was elected as the president of the Tanganyika African Association (TAA). Under Nyerere's presence, TAA gained an increasingly political dimension devoted to the pursuit of the Tanganyika independence from the British Empire. On 7 July 1954, Julius Nyerere transformed the TAA to the new political party named the Tanganyika African National Union (TANU). At the TANU meeting, Nyerere insisted on the needs of Tanganyika independence, but he maintained that the country's European and Asian minorities would not be ejected by any African-led independence government. Julius Nyerere greatly admired the India independence leader Mahatma Gandhi, and he endorsed Gandhi's approach to attaining independence from non-violence protest. In August 1954, the United Nations had sent a mission to Tanganyika, which subsequently published a report recommending a 20 to 25-year timetable from the colony's independence. In 1957, TANU extended its influence in the country. He has 500,000 members. In the 1958 Tanganyika's election, TANU won many seats. In March 1959, the new British governor of Tanganyika, Richard Turnbull, gave TANU 5 of 12 ministerial posts available in the colony's government. In 1960, Nyerere attended a conference of independent African states held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. In August 1960 general elections, TANU won 70 of the 71 available seats. As TANU leaders, Nyerere was called to form a new government. He became a chief minister, actually known as Prime Minister. On 9 December 1961, Tanganyika gained independence, an event marked by a ceremony held at Tanganyika National Stadium. 6 weeks after independence, in January 1962, Nyerere resigned as Prime Minister, and he appointed Rashid Kawawa as the new Prime Minister. In 1962, his alma mater at Edinburgh awarded Julius Nyerere with an honorary degree of Doctor of Law. On 9 December 1962, 1 year after independence, Tanganyika became a republic and Nyerere became the first president of Tanzania. He appointed Rashid Kawawa as the vice president. After being president, Julius Nyerere made an official visit in West Germany, Algeria, Canada, United States of America, Nigeria, and Guinea. In May 1963, Julius Nyerere attended the founding session of the Organization of the African Unity (OAU) at Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, where Nyerere endorsed the Pan-African idea of unifying Africa as a single state. In 1967, Nyerere of Tanzania, Milton Obote of Uganda, and Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya created the East Africa Community in order to facilitate cooperation between the three countries. Later, Nyerere saw his inability to establish an East Africa Federation as the biggest failure of his political career. President Nyerere was concerned by development in Zanzibar, and in Zanzibar of a pair of islands of Tanganyika's coast. Zanzibar secured independence from the British Empire in 1963, and in January 1964, the Zanzibar Revolution took place, in which the Arab Sultan Jamshid bin Abdullah was overthrown and replaced by a government consisting largely of indigenous Africa. Unification of Tanganyika and Zanzibar, and Nyerere as President of the United Republic of Tanzania in 1964. Following the Zanzibar Revolution, Abeid Karume was declared himself as president of Zanzibar. Hundreds of Arab and India left the country, as did most of Iceland's British community. In April 1964, the President Julius Nyerere visited the President Abeid Karume of Zanzibar. The following day, they announced the political unification of Tanganyika and Zanzibar. An interim constitution for the United Republic of Tanganyika and Zanzibar presented Julius Nyerere as the country's president, with Abeid Karume as its first vice president. In October 1964, the new name will announce the United Republic of Tanzania, Tanganyika Zanzibar United. In April 1972, Abeid Karume was assassinated in a military coup by 4 gunmen. Foreign relations. Julius Nyerere, welcomed and helped by many liberation groups from Southern Africa, Frelimo of Mozambique, ANC of African National Congress of South Africa, SWAPO of Tanzania, and SWAPO of Namibia, and many others. Conflict with Uganda. In January 1971, President of Uganda, Milton Obote, was overthrown by General Idi Amin Dada. President Nyerere refused to recognize the legitimacy of the Amin administration, and he offered Milton Obote refuge in Tanzania. Nyerere allowed the exiled Uganda to set up rebel base in Tanzania. In 1971, Uganda bombed the Carreer sawmill in Tanzania. In response, Nyerere spotted Milton Obote. Nyerere decided to allow Obote's followers to launch an operation to overthrow the Uganda government. In September 1972, Obote riots invaded Uganda from Tanzania, but they were routed by Amin's security forces. Uganda forces retaliated by bombing Tanzania border town of Bukoba and Mwanza. Somalia mediated Uganda and Tanzania, where they signed the peace agreement, but the relations between Julius Nyerere and Idi Amin Dada remained tense. Nyerere continued to allow Uganda rebels to continue operating in Tanzania. In October 1978, Uganda invaded Tanzania, annexing Carreer. Nyerere decided that Tanzania response should be not only push Uganda army back into Uganda, but to invade Uganda and overthrow Marshal Idi Amin Dada. In order to achieve this, President Nyerere mobilized tens of thousands of civilian soldiers to aid the regular army. In January 1979, 3 Tanzanian battalions pushed into Uganda and revealed Mutukula. After overflowing months, the Tanzanian army pushed further into Uganda. After they took control of Kampala, the capital of Uganda, Marshal Idi Amin Dada and many of his followers fled into exile. The war cost Tanzania approximately $500 million of United States dollar, further damaging its fragile economy. Nyerere left voluntarily as president of Tanzania in 1985. He was succeeded by Zanzibari Muslim Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who was elected as president in Tanzania in 1985 presidential election, but he remained as the chairman of the CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi Powers Party. Nyerere is one of the African leaders who have voluntarily, gracefully, peacefully, and honorably bowed out of the governance. After the presidency, Nyerere remained a respected politician in Tanzania, and he was appointed to be a mediator to end the Burundi civil war. Death. In 1998, Julius Nyerere was aware that he had terminal leukemia, but kept this form the public. In September 1999, Nyerere traveled to England for medical care. He was hospitalized in St. Thomas Hospital in London, United Kingdom capital. In October, David Nyerere had a major stroke and he was placed in intensive care. Mwalimu Julius Nyerere was died on 14 October 1999 in London, England. His wife and 6 children were beside him. Benjamin Mkapa, who was Tanzania's president, announced Nyerere's death on national television, and he also proclaimed the 30 days of mourning period. Many African presidents or countries paid tribute to Julius Nyerere. A funeral was then held at the National Stadium, in which hundreds passed by the body as it lay in state. Finally, the body was flown into Butiama and buried. Political ideology of Nyerere. Nyerere's political ideology was one of the African socialism. He was also Pan-Africanist and anti-imperialist and neo-colonialism. Personal life. Julius Nyerere was a modest man who was shy regarding the personality cult that followers established around him. The style of pastry that Julius Nyerere wore was widely initiated in Tanzania, which led to it being known as Tanzanian sweet. With his wife Maria Gabriel Nyerere, they got married in 1953. They had 8 children. Julius Nyerere legacy. Within Tanzania, Julius Nyerere had termed the father of the nation, or Baba wa Taifa in Kiswahili language. He was also known as Mwalimu, teacher in English. Julius Nyerere gained recognition for the successful merger between Tanganyika and Zanzibar, and for leaving Tanzania as a united and stable state. Julius Nyerere was one of the most influential leaders of the 20th century. Mwalimu Julius Nyerere was also remembered in African nationalists as a non-compromising socialist. Nyerere is one of the great African heroes like Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, Nelson Mandela of South Africa, and Patrice Lumumba of DRC. Awards. Julius Nyerere won Lenin Peace Prize, Gandhi Peace Prize, Julius Carreer Medal. Nyerere's children are Andrew Nyerere, Anna Nyerere, John Nyerere, Mwigulu Nyerere, Makongoro Nyerere, Madeline Nyerere, Rosemary Nyerere, and Pauletta Nyerere. Nyerere is an unforgettable leader of Tanzania. He is also loved by many African. You can find his picture in many African countries on the buses or other cars. He has good legacy in Tanzania and in Africa. In Africa's heroes, which praise can you give Mwalimu Julius Nyerere? Tell us in comment. Don't forget to make a subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you for listening, guys. God bless you.